And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, there were people waiting already. That was fast. I didn't even tweet about it. Should I tweet about it? I should probably let people know that I'm live. I can do that really quickly. But yeah, I opened these windows up because people said it was too dark. But even on that night, it wouldn't have mattered that much just because it was dark outside anyway. But letting these semi blurred windows so you can't see anything, let them breathe so that light comes in. You can see that there's not really much behind me, but you can see it. Yeah, I don't need to tilt the camera to show everyone. Hi everyone, Samuel, Cloud, Microflash, Michael, Everything Tech, Extreme 2, Angie, Jonky, Wag. What's everyone doing? How's everyone doing? It's the February 20th. Something's happening soon. What is it? Okay, so there's the S9 release. That's just a couple days away now. And then Alto's Odyssey is coming out. The first app I've ever pre-ordered, by the way. The first app I was like, you know what? I'm really excited for this. I'm going to buy it before it comes out, which is now an option on the App Store. AirPower soon. I don't think it's as soon as the other stuff coming out. The S9 release, which we'll definitely have a video about. And then, is that the 25th? I think that's the 25th. Oh yeah, and that's kind of an interesting statistic. I am 20 years old now. Birthday's gone, came and passed. I'm 20 years old, and it's February 20th. So how about that? You getting the S9? Probably not, unless it has some type of feature that's really, really impressive, and I'll just be like, oh, you know what? I just have to try that one. But it'll likely be the same situation as the Note 8, which was just like, I saw it come out, and I was like, yeah, that looks like a good phone. I mean, it's very expensive and not that different from the S8, but it's a really good phone. And buying it and reviewing it wouldn't change any of those opinions. So what would be the point? Let me tweet out to Twitter here that I'm live on YouTube, and then maybe really quickly I'll go grab a link to the live stream via the also loved and praised YouTube app, which works really well. It never has a single flaw. There we go. We copied the link. Going back. Also, something interesting happening this evening is we're doing I'm appearing on someone else's channel. Some of you may have heard of him. Painfully Honest Tech is having a kind of Google Hangout style type of live stream. And he's going to have me on to interview this evening. And I think he just changed times. He was getting confused between time zones, I believe. And I think it's going to be around 8 p.m., but I should double check my DMs just to make sure. Of course, if you want to just know, you could check out his channel. And then if you subscribe to it, maybe you don't want to see all of his videos, but at least for today, you could get notified. He says, is there a time we could do earlier? So I think he's thinking around 8 or 7 p.m. this evening. So that'll be fun. Happy birthday. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yep, I heard of him. What's the difference between Final Cut Pro 10 and iMovie? Oh, well, first of all, iMovie's free, and that's on iOS and Mac OS and works almost the same on both. Whereas Final Cut Pro is exclusive to Mac OS and gives you a lot more options. Let's leave it at that. It's a more professional editing experience than iMovie, which is just made for like simple little family vacation videos. Painfully Honest Tech is actually one of the few tech tubers, that's a nice name, who gives it straight. Good. Yeah, I've seen some of his videos. I'm excited to see what he has to ask for me. Keep up posted about the interview. Yeah, I'll probably tweet about it before we go live, but yeah, that should be interesting this evening. I don't think I've ever appeared on I've appeared on other people's live streams before, but still, it should be cool. Is Apple keyboard the best? I use Kruma. This keyboard's pretty good. The one thing I wish this keyboard could be is backlit, because at night, especially, I just have a lamp next to my desk so that I can see the letters I'm typing in. But if all the lights are off, even via the brightness of the iMac Pro, I can't really see which letters are which. But I mean, Marquez buys certain keyboards that don't even have the letters on them, and they're just supposed to guess. And I can't stand that, but I guess pros like to do it just to be cool. But you're typing on a keyboard. How many cool ways can you look? But yeah, I wouldn't mind if the Magic Keyboard was backlit, even if I had to charge it a bit more often, because I don't really mind charging it, and no one really has any grievances with the placement of the Lightning plug on the Magic Keyboard. So I don't know why people would be upset if you had to charge your keyboard every 2 weeks instead of every 6. And you just got that extra backlit feature. And of course, you can just turn down the backlit if you're not interested in using it and you want the battery life to last longer, just turn down the backlight. Whereas having no backlight kind of sucks. And it would be cool because it would kind of match your MacBook as if you had a space gray one as well. iOS 11.3 beta 3 is out. What were we on? Can I check for that? I think everyone was freaking out about the stupid character that was crashing phones. Oh yeah, no, it's here. Yeah, 362 megabytes. Cool. Yeah, I'll get that after the stream. Most proud moment of Tailosive Tech. Oh, there's so many. I think the best moments of Tailosive Tech are yet to come, to be honest. But moving into the first office back in Oroville was really cool. 2X was a very proud moment, revealing that live, and then with the edited video afterwards, and seeing everyone's just kind of shock that, oh, this is what you meant by new office. Like, you really mean a new office. And then the camera bump, and then the camera resolution bump, not camera bump. Those are two different things. Let's see. I was really proud of the MQBHD interview. I was really stressed for that and very excited at the same time because I was also very busy. But especially because I'd been watching Marquez for years, really. I hadn't been subscribed to him for a long time, but I'd been watching his videos and kind of comparing myself to him in regards of quality and stuff. And to finally get that kind of recognition, it was kind of a surreal, like, you know, having more fans and having the income grow and becoming full-time. Those were all surreal moments as well. Like, oh my God, I've been wanting this for so long, and now there's people finally listening, and people are watching me and consistently watching me. And it's really entertaining to see that I can captivate an audience. And on top of that, one of the people I've reached out and contacted is someone that I've been watching videos of for years and years and years. So I hope there's more moments like that. The moments of having people that you used to not even think you would ever meet, people that own giant YouTube channels, finally start to acknowledge you as a tech journalist, even if you're wrong. I don't care if we agree. In fact, I'd prefer it if we didn't. But like seeing Unbox Therapy tweet at me, and just knowing that that's the largest tech channel, and even though we don't agree on topics, it's just really cool to see that the very start of conversations is happening in that regard, which is cool. Would you get a cheaper iMac, like a iMac Mini? If I had a purpose for one, I have an old Mac Mini right over there, but you could just buy an iMac and not turn the screen on. It's that easy. Just put it into an external monitor. My favorite Android phone is definitely the OnePlus 5T. Thoughts? No, that's a good phone. I think if you wanted to, I think if someone wanted to counterpoint me with the Apple ecosystem, as I'm very good at arguing for, price is the best way to do it, because it's not something that's debatably, it's not something I can debate if you're in a financial situation where you just cannot afford better products. So if you can't afford a Pixel 2 or an iPhone or a Galaxy, and you're just like, I can't afford those things, that's too much money, but the OnePlus 5T is pretty affordable and it has these features, so I like it. I was like, I can't convince you that you should have more money. That's not something I can argue. So if you want to debate Apple, price is a great way to do it. My counterpoint for people with price is always just that, well, that's a good phone. I'm happy for you, but it's not the best phone. I buy Apple products because I think they're the best tech products. OnePlus 5T is not the best tech product, but it's a very good one for the price. I always devise people's purchasing decisions into two factors. It's either a really great product or a really great deal. And all of us have a mixture of the two, as in, like, I think even me, there would be a point in which an iPhone cost, even if it was the best, would not be worth it. As in, if the next iPhone was $30,000, I could not justify that, right? I couldn't be like, I'm sorry, I can't buy that. I can't afford it. So there's always a factor of best product versus best deal. And I think some people just prefer one over the other. Some people, probably those who invest in a OnePlus 5T, or people who would buy an essential phone, are favoring the deal over the sake of the product, meaning that it's not the best of its category. There are other phones that are better than that, but because it's only $500 or lower, now I think you can get refurbished and used Galaxy S8s for under $500, which is amazing to me because the S8 is a wonderful phone. I loved mine. The fact that you can get that for much cheaper means that some people may prefer the deal, which is fine. I don't think one is better than the other. However, I will point out that companies that try to make the better product are usually the ones that go down in history for being more innovative, for changing the game, for mixing things up. As in, Apple, as we know, has never been a company about making good deals on things. If anything, Apple usually is the more expensive option. Though recently, especially in the Mac lineup, we've seen them kind of change because originally, if you wanted to build a PC of equivalent specs to a Mac Pro or an iMac, it would end up being cheaper. But actually, in the case of the iMac Pro, if you wanted to build a PC with all the same components of an iMac Pro, not counting the all-in-one design, not counting the warranty, not counting the amazing speakers in it, not counting the fact that it's silent, not counting all of those exclusives, not counting that it runs Mac OS, it was actually, the iMac Pro is actually $200 cheaper than the PC equivalent, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, I would say that companies that try to make the better product are the ones that people recognize and get more excited for. And statistically, there are just more people who prefer the better product than better deal. Will there be any phone exclusive for video and photo editing, just like some companies are selling phones as gaming phone? Yeah, it's a good question, Rohit. I kind of fall into that wish list as well. As like I guess Red was trying to do something like that, but I think the fact that they're taking so long is not a good sign. Usually, if a company takes months and months and months to just not even show you the display, because I know some people may be like, well, Drew, Apple took forever to release HomePods, and it's like they wait to perfect things, but when it's Razer announcing a phone and then asking money for the phone, that's the big difference. Is that Apple unveiled the HomePod, but you couldn't buy one until it was ready. Razer, I don't think, is ready to release their smartphones, but they're willingly taking everyone's $1,200 to $1,700 purchases, and they won't even show you what the front of the phone looks like turned on. They had to give a dummy model to Marquez, and then he showed you the front of it. But they won't tell you about the holographic display. They don't tell you about the camera or what the pictures look like of that camera. They literally just showed you a picture of the Razer phone, and that was it. And now with the S9 about to come out, and that's going to have a Snapdragon 845, so we're already getting into the new generation of Android phones that has faster CPUs and better optimization and better performance, and that Razer phone is still on the 835. That's going to be a year-old processor. It's going to be lagging behind, slowing behind everyone's, and yet it's a $1,200 phone for the cheaper model. You can get the titanium one, but it's like $1,700. So yeah, I don't know. Red phone, yes, sorry. The red phone. I'm getting my what is it called? Phones that are designed for specific things mixed up. Razer's good for gaming, and I think what Red is going for is photography, but they're likely going to find out that you can't stuff a really powerful sensor into a smartphone. You have to use AI and image processing to make images that look really good on a smartphone, and that's the trick. Do you think MKBHD will like the Red phone more than the Pixel? If it comes out, I don't think he'll like it more than the Pixel. He'll probably have a similar argument that he made with the Razer phone, which is that maybe it's just a little, I don't know, it's kind of too clunky, or the speakers won't be as good or something, or there will be some kind of defect to the Razer phone. I'm guessing it'll be lack of optimization and the fact that it's a slower CPU. That's what I would get. Yeah, he likes stock Android, exactly. Would you rather have a Razer, Red, or Pixel phone? That's an interesting question. I'd say since I'm a tech journalist, I'll try the Razer phone because a lot of people have opinions on that. A lot of people really like that phone, and I don't. But if I reviewed it, maybe it could change my mind. I haven't tried a 120 hertz display on a smartphone display before. I've tried it on my iPad and I use that every day and it's fine. But yeah, I don't know if maybe that would all change my mind if I just tried it. But also, I would just take a red phone because that's very expensive and not out yet. So if I had one, I'd have some exclusive access. Waiting for Apple to absolutely smash or destroy its competitors. What do you mean waiting? They're doing great. Which do you like better, phones without or with or without home buttons? Well, without, obviously, because of iPhone 10. I mean, is there any Android phones out there yet that are completely gesture controlled? I don't think they've done that yet. I bet they're experimenting with it, but I think the iPhone is kind of in its own unique place where it's yeah, it's all gesture controlled, and I can't really think of a lot of smartphones. And I'm not talking about on-screen buttons. If there's a button on the screen that you press and that's the home button, that's different than gesture control. As saying there's no button on the bottom of the screen that takes you home. That's what I'm referring to. Whether it's touchscreen or physical doesn't matter. But how or does the HomePod even work as a speaker for the Mac via AirPlay? Yes, in a couple ways. So for one, if you add the volume option into your taskbar at the top of the screen, it gives you output device options, and you can select which HomePod you want. However, since it's AirPlay, it usually takes a second for the audio to catch up. And then on top of that, it's not very good for like live control. So what I mean by like live audio output is something that's variably changing. So it means like if you were editing video, the computer can't anticipate what sounds you're going to make because you click over here and press play there. But if you're doing something like watching a YouTube video, it'll take a second to catch up and then start playing. It'll work just fine. But what we recently found out, thanks to Everything Apple Pro, last night was that via iTunes, you can actually output to multiple HomePods at the same time, over two, in fact. So when I open iTunes now and go via AirPlay, I can play the same song on not two, but actually all three of my HomePods all at the same time, which it sounds amazing. I've been doing that recently, and it gives this whole new purpose to iTunes, which I usually don't use. But since it's only technically doable through there at this point because stereo mode's not available yet, I love listening to music through both HomePods. So I have both HomePods on my desk now, and that sounds great. Okay. If you had to choose a phone to use daily, which would it be? iPhone 6S or Google Pixel? 6S, it's not that bad. It's not Android bad. Well, iTunes has had that feature for years, but HomePods haven't been out for years. And I'm glad that there's this backdoor tactic into getting HomePods to play the same stuff. There's also some other way. Someone was sending me a link to this app that lets you do it, but I haven't checked that out thoroughly yet. But either way, I can get HomePods to play lots of stuff at once. What editing system do you use? Final Cut Pro. Yes. I've used Premiere for a long, long time. I used Premiere for about 4 years, but before that, I used Final Cut for 2. And then more recently, especially when I got the MacBook Pro, I moved back to Final Cut because of exporting speed and stuff. What I mean by backdoor option is that HomePods can't pair a stereo yet. You can't do that, but via iTunes you can. So it's the non-conventional way, but yes, it does work. And I know that feature's been there for a while. I started off just watching a few tech vids and the whole channel, then talks, and now music. I love this network. Cool. That's the hope, is that you can get lots of content from us. Hopefully that you all enjoy. Do you think the new iPhone 10 2018 and the Plus will just have the Galaxy S8 and S8 Plus treatment, where there's only a difference in battery and screen size? Usually Apple doesn't do that, though. I think usually Apple likes to make some forms of, there will likely be a couple software exclusives for the 10 Plus, just to kind of persuade you to go to that upper tier. Or if not necessarily to persuade, but if you invest more in an iPhone, it should probably do more for you. So, but first of all, good question, Tyler. So yeah, obviously when you make a larger phone, when they make the 10 Plus, there's some granted benefits, as in the screen size, obviously, and then the battery life is probably a little bigger because your physical footprint is larger. Usually when Apple does something like that, it means there's also an extra gig of RAM, maybe an extra 2 gigs of RAM. Like the 12.9-inch iPad Pro has 4 gigs of RAM, and the 10.5-inch has, I think, 3 or maybe 2. But there's usually a difference in RAM. So apart from specs, like one thing they might do on the 10 Plus is bring back landscape mode, like on the home screen. You can't do that on the regular 10. They've dictated that it's too small. Or as I've suggested, they'll likely bring back multiple tabs options in Safari. The keyboard will be better at displaying both your texts and your keyboard. So yeah, there will likely be some software benefits. Of course, maybe they might start reaching into the picture-in-picture, split view kind of stuff. I'm not necessarily sure if they'll do that because they've been kind of hesitant about adding split screen multitasking and picture-in-picture on a phone. But since that phone is so huge, maybe it would be worth it. I don't know. If they don't think it works, then I take their word for it. I trust them. Recommended budget phone. Usually when if I'm looking for a budget phone, it's not looking for a phone that just came out that is less money. Usually I have better luck with finding an iPhone that's a couple years old and someone took good care of it. Like an iPhone 7 Plus is a couple years old now, or a 6S is pretty old now, but it still works just fine. And you can update it to the latest iOS and it works. It may be down throttled a little bit, but that's because it won't shut down at a 40% battery. Music on the HomePod keeps cutting off and on. Siri takes too long to respond. I reset it 3 times and still having this problem. I'm sorry, Alfonso. I apologize. I wish I had that. I mean, I don't wish I had that issue, but I don't know what you're going through, so I'm sorry. Keyboard latency on Android sucks. I'm sure that depends from phone to phone, but yeah, keyboard latency on anything would suck. What is your Apple Watch activity goal? Mine has been 500 calories every day of 2018. January 1st, I changed it to 500. I went up from 470, and so far I've closed it every single day of February. So we're on the 20th now. That's 20 days in a row. Yeah. Loving the setup, cousin. Hey, Matt. How's it going? We got to have you on the tech podcast soon. All right. Proactive assistance in Google Home Hangouts. Chat visual reasons for Google Home via Chromecast, Google Clips. Okay, proactive assistance in Google. I'm sorry, I don't know. What do you think about all the things that Google announced on Google I/O that are still not here? Yeah, it's kind of what Google's known for, which is being Google's known for making a lot of promises they can't keep. But I'm kind of fine if they never release Google Clips. That was really bizarre. I thought it was like, could you be more obvious that you're spying on people? It's like, here's a camera we want you to set up in your living room and in your house, and it has no take picture button. We're just going to take random pictures, and you will trust that we know when to take the best photos. Using machine learning, we'll know when to take the best pictures. It was like, does anyone really want that? A camera that decides when it wants to take pictures, and it just shows up in Google Photos. I thought that was weird. Can Face ID even get any better? Of course. There's lots of ways Face ID could get better. For one, there's something they could update right now. Let Face ID work from multiple orientations. Maybe they're not doing that because they're worried about someone just like using your phone and holding it in front of you and taking it from you. But if your iPhone's in landscape mode, Face ID won't work. You have to be in portrait. And I know the IR sensors can still see you the same way. And Touch ID worked from any orientation. So they could change that via software update very quickly. On top of that, via hardware, they could make Face ID work from farther away. And they could make it work via infrared sensor. They could make it work from wider distances. So you don't have to necessarily be right in front of the phone. You could look at it from a bit more of an angle and it could still open. Maybe during that Face ID setup process, you have to turn your head a little bit further so that it can understand this part of your face as well from a different from an angle. But yeah, there's tons of ways that Face ID could improve over time. Absolutely. What do you think about these problems with messages when you get these symbols crashing your apps and things like that? I think it's incredibly overrated, and it's a problem because media journalists make it a problem. As in, are there a ton of people out there using that specific character? No, the only reason people started using that character is because they knew it crashed the phones. And the only reason we knew it crashed the phones is because people kept reporting on it. Everyone kept talking about it. Now, Everything Apple Pro uploads this video. Send this text to anyone, it crashes the phone. And then Unbox Therapy uploads a video. Send this text, it crashes any phone. And when you just tell everyone how to crash everyone's phone, when you find that little glitch, obviously it becomes a bigger problem. But keep in mind, if no one would have reported on it, if no one just made an article about it, this wouldn't be a problem. No one was using that character. No one was using that character constantly. I'd never seen that character before. So what I mean is, it's kind of it's. I guess it's Apple's fault for having a character that can crash any phone, but at the same time, it's the internet's fault for telling everyone that it does. Because then what happens is people who find that character start sending it to everyone because they want to glitch out everyone's phones, and it gets annoying very quickly. I didn't report on it because I was like, I don't use that. I don't use that character. So I'm not worried about that. And none of my friends use that character. So I've never had that character sent to me. It's never crashed my phone. I've never sent it. It's not necessary. Matt says, here's my lunch money. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate the super chat. Thank you. How do you check comments during a live stream? What's the best way without super chatting to ask you a question? Also, do you still have stickers on your wall of all the super chatters? Well, given I don't have that wall anymore, I don't live there anymore. I sadly don't have that wall with all the super chatters. I think that was the Tailosive Talks channel, but I have the comments right next to me on this built-in live streaming option that YouTube has. And it works pretty well. I can see pretty much everyone's comments, but the best way to ask questions without super chatting is likely via Patreon. And I'm not trying to say that the only way to ask me questions is to give money. All I'm saying is there's lots of you. It says right here, 236 people are watching this. So when there's 236 people watching and at least 50 to 80 of them trying to ask a question, it's very difficult to sort you all through. I apologize, but that's sadly just how the world works. Matt says, have some more lunch money. Thank you, Matt. Okay. Opinion on Blue products. The Blue product was the first Android phone I ever had, the Blue Vivo 5. And it was fine. It was pretty cheap and it worked pretty well. I liked it. I didn't need it. I didn't keep it, but it was just kind of like, oh, okay. So here's a basic, cheap Android phone, and it worked fine. Camera's not very good, but I guess it's true that Apple's trying to expand in India. But I mean, like, shouldn't that be a problem in India? Why was that made such a big deal here in the US? If it's a character that people in India use all the time, then I understand that being an issue. But it's not something us, the Americans, should worry about because we don't, most of us aren't speaking Indian or using that character. And yet everyone here wanted to report on it. So I don't know. Have some more lunch money. Thank you, Matt. Again, it was something that should be exclusive to people who speak that language, and yet because of that character, everyone blew up about it over here. So I don't know. It was an unnecessary complication. Everyone could have just relaxed, and Apple would have issued the patch, and of course helped all those people that were experiencing issues in India. But I don't know why it had to be an issue here. Okay. Hoping the 2018 iPhone 10 comes in more colors other than the ones we're used to. Possibly a midnight navy blue and product red. Yeah, I would really like to see a product red one, but I think Everything Apple Pro was right to make a blush gold one, which would be really, really cool. To see blush gold brought over to the 10s as well, and to see blush gold in more of a stainless steel design. And speaking of Everything Apple Pro, this reminds me, well, we've got a pretty good number of people here. The Bro King is having heart surgery, and he has a Kickstarter campaign to help pay for a lot of the medical bills and a lot of the issues he's going for. If you don't know this, the Bro King is the guy who does all of the animation and concept art for Everything Apple Pro's videos. So please go check out the iPhone 10 Plus video on Everything Apple Pro's channel, and in the link you can donate to the Bro King and help pay for some of that stuff, because that sucks and medical bills are very expensive. So helping him pay for that, I've donated And I'm hoping that some people in the audience would help donate as well, because he makes really good stuff and we want to see him keep making good stuff. So please check that out. All right. So Matt says Sony Xperia is worse than Windows Phone. Okay. That's quite an accusation. I just realized what you said. It's like Windows Phone doesn't even exist, but weird. Yeah, Yi Urasawa super chatted $1 and then said, if I donate $100 and you got scammed of $100, would you refund me? What do you mean? If I donate, if you donate $100 in super chat and you got scammed for $100, would you refund me? How do I get? What do you mean? I don't understand that at all. The Xperia is so good. The camera is amazing. What the Sony ones bother me because of the design. The chin and foreheads are just huge on Sony phones. But no, I haven't used one, so I don't know how well they actually work. What Apple Watch band, bro? This is the blue Nike band. I don't think this is available anymore with a stainless steel space black. I don't get the hate of Xperia phones. Wasn't the Xperia phones like the first one to have a 4K display, which I think is stupid. Putting 4K on a phone is so unnecessary. It's overkill, and maybe someday that'll be standard, but I still think it's unnecessary. At that size, 4K, 2K don't have a noticeable difference, in my opinion. It's a good point. That's a good point. Is AirPods 2 just going to be different because of wireless charging, or is there going to be other features too? No, it's just the case. I think there's a perfectly. I think they've explained on the website pretty well that the AirPods themselves are not changing. It's just the case that's getting wireless charging features. So I'm still getting a whole new pair of AirPods anyway. But yeah. Okay, John Key says, "Don't hate me for the super chat." Oh boy, who do I have to not hate? He says, here's a question that could make you angry. Do you ignore normal messages / questions from regular super chatters because it's likely they'll donate if they aren't answered otherwise? Milking for money. No, I wouldn't say that's my mindset. And no, that doesn't make me angry. That's a reasonable question. There's a lot of questions I see in the chat. And believe me, this is kind of a tricky job because other times I've let my friends or other people moderate the chat. And whenever I do that, as in like I don't read the chat, they read the chat and then ask me the questions that they pick from the chat. You guys got really, really upset when I let other people do that because apparently they weren't good at it or they weren't answering all the questions. So you were mad about that. So that's why we don't do that very much anymore. And I stay pretty exclusive to the ones reading the comments. But what the issue is there's a lot of people who watch these live streams. Like there are some loyal subscribers that will watch every single live stream and some people who just subscribed yesterday. So between those two people that you ask a lot of questions, a lot of people ask questions in the chat that I've answered many, many times, or you didn't even see the first 20 minutes of this live stream and you're already asking stuff that I've already answered. And to the long-term viewers, the people who've been watching my videos for a long, long time, I don't want to bore them and just answer the same thing over and over again. Like every single live stream, I get people saying, what are your thoughts on Jailbreak? What are your thoughts on Hackintoshes? What do you think of the S9? What's the next thing Apple's going to release? Or do you like Pixel? You know, there's all these questions that I've answered 80 times probably within all the different live streams. And I'm trying to, while I'm sorting through all of your chat messages, this is a very tricky job. I have to try to pick things that I think looked interesting, but also not take like 10 minutes and just wait for something interesting to pop up. So I kind of have to be reading and speaking at the same time, which is why sometimes you'll see me just stop talking and just focus on what's going on, because I'm trying to find questions that are interesting and that the long-term viewers haven't heard before, but can also stay interesting to the new people. So if you feel like your question's not getting answered, I apologize. But I'm trying to tell you that this isn't content that's entirely just about you, the new subscribers. It's you new subscribers have an unlimited amount of content you can go back and watch that is old that you haven't seen yet. Whereas the people that have watched every single video, the people that have been here for over a year, when you start watching this stuff daily, you don't want to see me repeat the same stuff over and over again. So that's the goal there. I'm not trying to say that I'm not going to answer normal questions because people super chat. But what I can say is when people super chat, it's a lot easier for me to read because it just pops up on the screen. And because you have some money tied to it, I think it's a fair assumption that, well, you're helping support the channel. You're helping me do what I do. Of course, I'll answer at least that one. So the next one, of course, from Matt is, can you make Patreon exclusive content? And to that, I'd say I don't want to make too much content that only a selected few who are willing to pay will see. But what I am trying to do, is, I think what I'll start doing, I don't think I've tried to do this yet, but what I want to start doing is the Patreon stories, which, if you didn't know that, Patreon, bizarrely, is actually going forward with what Instagram, Facebook, and Messenger did with stories. And I usually don't do that kind of thing, but I think with Patreon, since you guys are paying, you get some behind the scenes updates. I'll start posting to the stories mode on Patreon, so you can just see what's going on at Tailosive behind the scenes, what's coming up, what's going to happen soon. In that way, if you're a Patreon donor, doesn't matter how much it is, between $1 or $100, whatever it is, then you get to see some behind the scenes stuff. You get to see some exclusivity and updates. But I wouldn't probably do much edited content that only goes to Patreon, because I want to work on things that everyone gets to see. I don't want to put a bunch of video and edited work into something that only, how many people, like 150 to 200 people see versus tens of thousands. Okay. Someone donated $100, then later you got scammed $100 loss. Would you feel bad about the donor and refund them back? I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm missing. I don't understand. So you're saying if a random fan donated $100, then I got scammed an unrelated $100, that would mean nothing happened. And would you feel bad about oh, I got it. Okay, never mind. It just clicked. So someone donates $100, someone else took $100 from me via a scam. I feel bad that person's donation got used for nothing, so I give it back. Gotcha. I don't know. That's a tricky question. Maybe. I've reimbursed certain fans money before, but I guess I would say that would depend on. That wouldn't really be their fault, I guess. Because if you look at it from my perspective, I'd be losing $200 because you donated the 100, so I have the 100, and then I lose that 100, and then I feel bad about you, so I give you 100. So in result, I just lose $200. I might leave that up to the fan, whatever they decide. They'd probably take it back, but I'd let them know that I'd be losing an extra 100 on top of that. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably leave that up to the fan to decide. Because if I were to reimburse them their $100, I would be at a loss, and the purpose of the fan was to donate money. So it depends on where their mindset is. Okay, do you play any video games on your iMac Pro? Yes, I play Rocket League. I have Windows 10 on here, and I've played GTA 5 on it. I've played Wolfenstein 2 on it. I've played. I don't game very often, so I'm trying to remember what games I have. It can run games really well. That's all I remember. Could do CSGO pretty good. I play a lot of Getting Over It on the gaming channel, which is fun. But yeah, play Fortnite. No. How does the purge work with time zones? Does it start at different times or different coasts, or could you have a longer purge if you moved across the country while purging? I'm guessing that it's all at the same time. What do you think of the rumored 6.1-inch iPhone? I mean, there's still rumors spreading about it, but I feel like the so-called specs of what people are saying it's going to be like is somewhat off. There's something wrong. The biggest one is I really don't believe they're going to ditch 3D Touch. That's just been around since the 6S. Why would they get rid of that in 2018? some people were saying that it would have an aluminum back, which I thought was weird. If anything, they would have aluminum edges in a glass back, like an iPhone 8. That I could see happening. But whatever the rumors are for that 6.1 inch, there's something off. Maybe it's LCD, but 6.1. Also, that display, the fact that it would be the largest display of any iPhone ever, and they would make it budget for $700. There's so many things that don't line up. Why do people keep saying that the next 5.8-inch iPhone 10 will lose the OLED screen? I'm guessing that it has something to do with, it could be two things. For one, they might want to implement ProMotion. And if they want to implement the 120 hertz display, you have to do it on LCD. There currently is not a way to do that on OLED. Whoever can do that first, congratulations. But also the other option is to get prices lower. The rumor is that when they update the 5.8-inch iPhone 10, they're going to find a way to make it cheaper, because that was one of the biggest complaints with the 10, is that $1,000 starting price is a lot, and people wished it was lower. And if switching to LCD would help make that possible, help bring prices down, then they probably could do it. As long as the display resolution and the contrast ratio and the colors still look as good, if not a little bit better. I'm sure they could make all that work with a True Tone display and stuff. So there's probably ways they can still make a better product with an LCD display, and hopefully maybe that'll make it cheaper. But Matt super chatted says, "Can I please join the Tailosive crew? Thank you for your donation, but sadly we're not hiring yet, or we have no one hired, but we have people in line to get the first job, the first official paid employee job at Tailosive, and sadly they've been in line for a long time. But thank you, Matt, for donating. I'm very sorry. I can't take you on right now. Unless you can offer something to do, just pitch to me and best way to do it is via email. You can just email me what you want to do, how you can do it, and why you should do it. That's how my editor Nathan applied. He just emailed me his resume and said, "This is what I could do for you. Here's what I'm capable of." I didn't send out an application. I wasn't like, "I need someone to work for me. Come here." And then he just showed up and said, "Hey, this is what I can do. Can you let me do it?" And he wanted to do it for free, keep in mind you. But then I insisted he get paid. Dylan super chatted, "Love the HomePod. It sounds great, and I'm just waiting for Siri to get better. Haven't been on in a while." Thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it. Yeah, I still think that Siri gets too much hate. There's not something that I need Siri to do that she can't. I'm sure there are things the Google Assistant does better than Siri. I'm just saying that those are things I don't use digital assistants for. My thing is like, play this podcast, play this song, set a timer. It's basic stuff like that. Or send iMessage text, something Google Assistant can't do. If Tailosive Tech had an app, what would you want it to do? I wouldn't make Tailosive Tech an app. I'm kind of against the idea of Tailosive having an app in general, just because, I'm against having a website. We used to have a website, tailosive.com. Now, really don't go there. You might get a virus if you go there. But my issue with that is, I think the great thing about all these different platforms is that they're built into all of your different channels you're watching. So you can just open the YouTube app and see everyone there, and I'm also there. Making a whole separate app and a whole separate website for you to go to and check just to see if Tailosive's done something, I think is unnecessary. You can probably be fine with just subscribing on YouTube. Also, websites cost money. Apps take developers, and they also cost money. So it's unnecessary for me to make an app. I can't think of what it would do. I guess play my videos, look good, accept donations without a middle person. Can you donate from Apple Pay Cash? I think I would have to tell everyone my phone number to do that, so I'm going to say no. But you can donate via PayPal or Patreon or Super Chat. There's lots of ways to donate. Do you think that Apple killing the iPod Classic line was their worst mistake? Not at all. That iPod wasn't selling very well. I understand completely why they canceled. Will you get excited if Samsung implemented micro LED on their future phones? Yeah, Samsung probably would be ones to do that. They're usually the innovators when it comes to display technology. That'd be cool. I'd be curious to try it because the idea with micro LED is that the pixels are so incredibly small that you'll be able to fit bigger resolutions, brighter displays, thinner displays all into one design. So micro LED, while it is the tactic, the hope is that you would see pixels per inch like through the roof, like 600, 700 pixels per inch with even thinner phones than we already have. So stuff like that. Can you super chat on iPad? Yep, you just have to go to the browser, find the live stream on Safari. Do you think Apple should have built AirPower into the iMac Pro foot? They should have. I would have liked that, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'll likely get my AirPower mat and put it right at the base of the iMac Pro, which would be awesome. What do you think the next major product Apple is going to cancel is going to be? I think it'll be a big moment when they cancel the iPod Touch, which is any day now. As soon as they decide that that's not worth selling anymore, that'll be like everyone talking about the iPod is officially dead. Like you cannot buy an iPod from Apple anymore. They're gone. That'll be a big moment. People get really sad, but then realize that no one cared because no one bought an iPod Touch. And that number is increasingly dropping because if you want an iPhone without a cell plan, get an old one that's unlocked, and it'll likely still be better than an iPod Touch. You can get a used iPhone 6S or 6 for like $200, and that's still better than an iPod Touch. So, yeah, the iPod. If you go to apple.com, it's under the music section. You have to scroll for a while, but there's just iPod Touch right there. Also, the next big one that's rumored to be canceled is the MacBook Air, which is probably very close. They said that they might make like a larger tiered version of the 12-inch MacBook, so like a 13-inch or a 14-inch design, but really, really thin. Excuse me. And if that comes out, it will likely be replacing the MacBook Air, and they'll discontinue that. You can still buy a MacBook Air from Apple, but it's the 13-inch version. They stopped selling the 11.5-inch, which I'm glad about. That thing was too small. My sister has one of those, and the aluminum bezels is like, ugh, not even a Retina display, which is, I think, on everything else. That's the only device Apple still sells that hasn't adapted to the Retina. Do you think Apple will take away the charging port and use wireless charging on the next iPhone? God, I hope so. I'm so ready for that. It wouldn't matter if they did. What I mean is, I'm in the portless challenge. I haven't plugged anything into my iPhone. I'd be fine if they did that, but everyone would be mad. But I would probably make a good amount of views off of the defense video about why it's time to move away from ports, how the Apple Watch has never had a port and it works fine, and that now is the time. If we can do it, let's go ahead and move forward with it so you guys adapt slowly. But yeah. So that would be interesting to see. I don't think it'll be this year. I think it's too soon, but they probably want to wait till wireless charging technology gets a little better before they ditch the port entirely. But regardless, I still think we can do it now, and that's why I encourage all my fans to participate in the portless challenge, because then when you go when they do ditch the port and you do buy that iPhone, there will be basically no change. You'll be used to it. You'll be like, oh yeah, I've been used to this the whole time. Okay. All my lunch money is gone, but I go to film school so I can film and edit a very high standard, and I'll relocate from the UK to the US. You guys speak the same language. Well, that's very generous of you, Matt. Thank you. That's okay, though. You don't have to ditch your whole life just to come here. Jamie, super chat, it says, why do you focus on Apple and not other companies? For the most part, it's because I noticed those videos aren't as successful. I've tried to talk about Samsung and OnePlus and Razer, but I've realized that my fan base, given that I'm very biased towards Apple, shocker, I know, most people don't care about videos that are not about Apple. So I've experimented with that and even making videos about like Tesla and SpaceX and stuff like that. But people aren't as interested in that. Apple's definitely, I wouldn't, for me, it's my favorite tech company. I think they're the best tech company, but I think everyone can agree that they're the most controversial. What Apple does is what everyone talks about. What Apple does is kind of what keeps tech journalism alive. So when I talk about things that aren't Apple, people just aren't as interested because, I don't know, there's just not as many passionate fans or anything. Hey, you can cheat charge Apple Watch from the chargers in the Apple Store? Really? That's interesting, Tobias. Huh, I didn't know that. I've tried to cheat charge my Apple Watch on other cheat chargers, but it doesn't work. Why does the media target Apple so much? For the same reason I do. It's just that people are either very hateful or loving on Apple. It's just a very controversial company. So that's why I think everyone reports on them. It gets people interested. If you find out that there's some character that crashes all OnePlus phones, no one cares as much. Because also, I think it's because a lot of people own Apple products. There's a lot of people on Earth who have Apple products. Like I don't own a single Samsung product. I've owned them in the past and I've reviewed them, but none of the products I own currently are made by Samsung. So when I hear about some Samsung defect or some Samsung company doing this or that, it doesn't really affect me that much. Whereas lots of people out there, even people who hate on Apple and bash on Apple, have an iPad or have a MacBook or have something related to an Apple product. Like even YouTubers who aren't big Apple fans, like Unbox Therapy or Casey Neistat, they like their Galaxy phones or they like their OnePlus phones. They still use a MacBook though. So there's always this love/hate relationship with Apple and their fans. So how did you get a screen on an iPhone 10 Plus in your most recent video thumbnail? That is because of a very gracious fan who you can check out on Twitter as Dale Boomstick, who does lots of stuff for me. He did the iPad 10 concept video with the 3D models and the displays on them with the glass back. He makes those, and then this isn't the first time he's done this, by the way. Back originally, I did an iPhone 10 Plus video. He also added the screen onto the dummy model, so he did it for yesterday's video. And what else has he done? My Mac Mini concept. I did a concept for a newly designed Mac Mini with a air power charger on top with Thunderbolt 3 on the back. He designed those concepts as well. So he's just kind of my go-to concept guy because he's good at it and he's good at 3D modeling. So for stuff in the future, I'll also go to him. No SE2 in March, only the new lineup and iPhones in September. I actually saw people claiming that the SE2 might not come till June for WWDC. I'd be kind of surprised if they delayed the SE2 till September. That'd be kind of well, I guess it's when the iPhones come out, but yeah, I did see a couple saying that that's when the SE would come out. So Mac Mini should be the first Mac without a headphone jack. Yes, I agree. Or actually the 12-inch MacBook. That's something that like you're not an audio professional, you're not a video editor if you're, or at least an advanced one who needs that perfect response time via headphone jack, because you have one USB-C port anyway. So if they ditch the headphone jack on that in favor of USB-C, you could charge it from either side. You'd have more options. You can plug in one thing and also import another. It'd be so much better. And if you have a 12-inch MacBook, chances are you likely have AirPods. When's the growing up ad coming? So my editor Nathan is actually driving up to Chico, and we're going to start filming it's called Grown Up, by the way. That's because it's not growing up. Samsung made the growing up ad. We are making the Grown Up because it's a response video in terms of advertising, because it's Samsung is about growing up, like moving on. Apple is about we have grown up. We're already here. We've already moved to the best. And we're going to be working on that, storyboarding it and filming that this weekend. He's going to get here Thursday night. And then we'll likely do a tech podcast together. And then he's going to be staying here for the weekend, crashing at my place back in Oroville. But it'll be fun. Yeah. Is Grown Up going to be on the tech channel? Yes, it'll be a tech video. Does HomePod work for voiceover for blind people? Well, I assume so, because it's kind of an eyes-free device. There's not really much of the HomePod you need to look at. It just kind of works. From Orlando, what's up? What's up, Orlando? I've been there. Well, you should make a separate dummy email so people can send you Apple Pay cash. And also, does HomePod work with voiceover for blind people? Yeah, I assume so. As long as you can speak clearly, it'll hear you. I'm not really sure what you mean by voiceover. Is that like, I mean, you can read texts and send texts with the HomePod without looking at it, so I assume that should work. I'd be scared with making a dummy email for Apple Pay Cash because I feel like people would just request money and text random things all the time and be like, "Hey Drew, hey Drew, hey Drew, hey Drew." So I don't know. So the grown up ad will be filming this weekend. I'm not really sure when it'll be done. Let's hope on Sunday. Let's hope. It might be more complicated and it might take longer. I don't know. I've never worked in person with Nathan before, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Maybe we work really well together. Maybe we hate each other. We'll find out. So stereo mode means that the left and right channels are being sent separately to two HomePods. iTunes doesn't do this. It still sends both channels to each HomePod. I understand that. I know it's not true stereo mode. I'm just saying that there is not currently another way that I've tried. I know there's some weird app that lets you mimic AirPlay too, but there's no easy way that via Apple software, let's put it that way, you can output the same song to both HomePods. Okay, let's put it that way. And besides stereo, like how often is there a difference between song? If this HomePod's doing left and this HomePod's doing right, is it going to sound that different than both of them playing the same thing? Depending on the song, sure, but for the music I was playing, not really. It's going to sound the same. Apple Juice Super Chat. It says, "Do you ever feel you could earn more money doing something else, but you love Tailosive, you do it anyway? Love your content." Well, currently in terms of YouTube and lifestyle, no, I don't think there's another job I could be doing right now that I'd make more money. But there are parts of Tailosive that I'd lose money on for the sake of me gambling and betting on the fact that Tailosive will be more than the tech channel. So, for instance, you won't notice until you try mono versus stereo. I have tried it. I'm just not an audiophile. What I mean is, for instance, when I got my new Blackmagic camera, the footage on it was so large I could no longer upload it to Nathan, and Nathan could not edit tech videos anymore. So I had two options. I could just start editing the tech videos again myself and then fire Nathan, which means that not really fire, but just put on temporarily hold. Just say like, well, I can't send you the footage, so I have nothing for you to make. Or option two was to keep paying Nathan for his editing work, but give him something else to edit, which was, in this case, the vlogs over on Tailosive Talks, which is something that I've been semi-consistent about. But because I knew Nathan was not working any other jobs, he was just working part-time at Tailosive, he had bills to pay, he had expenses, I didn't want to just cut off his income entirely. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to start vlogging every day, even if there's not much going on. I'm just going to try to vlog every day so that you have something to edit. And you get experience with editing different kinds of Tailosive content. However, they make no money. They make a little bit of money, but they do not cover the price of what I pay Nathan. So basically the choice was save money, edit my own videos, or lose money and let Nathan keep editing so that he continues his job. And I chose to let Nathan keep his job and let Nathan start editing something else, even though that I'm filming more of my life, producing more content, buying, gimbals to make the content look better, and yet not turning a profit on it. I would say it's fun to vlog, and I want that to become a normal thing. And actually, it turned out that decision was very, very smart because, as we've seen, you guys be very generous and check out the Tailosive Talks channel and start watching the vlogs as they're being posted. They have started to pay for themselves. I don't think they've turned a profit yet, but they're starting to bring the revenue up for Tailosive Talks, that they're starting to cover the price of Nathan's editing. So that ended up being a good decision, even though for the first couple of months here, I'm going to be losing money on the Talks channel, not gaining money. But because Tech Channel's doing pretty okay, you guys are very generous on Patreon, and now we're seeing the Talks channel start to turn around. I think in another month or two, the Talks channel, because of your guys' support of it and because you keep watching it, is actually going to start turning a profit and start gaining money. It'll be interesting to see if we can recreate that same process on the other Tailosive channels. So when Nathan starts working full-time and we start doing more Tailosive gaming videos and Tailosive movie reviews, when we start expanding to all of that, will we also be able to turn a profit? I hope so, but we'll find out. I owe my life to Tailosive. I bought the Give Me a Break t-shirt. And every day since then, I've closed my 1,000 calorie activity rings and dropped 80 pounds in less than a year. Wow. Don't put that on me. That's on you, dude. You did that. That's amazing. 80 pounds less than you. That's really, really cool. I'm excited for you. I mean, the t-shirt didn't do that. You did that though. Don't give credit to me. Why do I feel you trying to be friends with everything Apple Pro? I don't know what I've done to try to be friends with, but I watch his videos. I've been subscribed to him for over a year, and I've watched everything he's uploaded. He's been kind of inconsistent recently with uploads and the kind of content he makes. I kind of go, what are you talking about? But yeah, he's a very thorough tech YouTuber. I owe Tailosive Food my life. You have encouraged me to eat food, which is great. With the iMac Pro keyboard, do you use the numbers on the keypad or numbers on top? Also, how is it adjusting from touch at no touch bar? I kind of miss the touch bar, to be honest. I kind of liked having that share button for AirDrop, and I use that pretty regularly on my MacBook, and not having that on this kind of sucks. And I switch. See, when I edit the Tailosive Talks podcasts, which are multicam and you cut back and forth, you use the keypad. So sometimes I use the number pad on the side of the keyboard right here, and other times if I readjust, because if you just leave your fingers resting on keys for a really, really long time, they start to get sweaty, or at least mine do. I probably have a weird issue, but I'll alternate back and forth. So I'll do like left hand here, and then I'll readjust and put right hand here and just kind of switch between them as much as I can. But anyway, we've passed our hour mark, so I want to thank everyone for your super chats. It's that sad part of the live stream where things are ending, but I got good news for you. There will be another live stream, not on Tailosive Tech, but on Painfully Honest Tech this evening, which I hope to see you all there. I'm excited to answer all his questions. And on top of that, you got a whole second channel full of stuff to watch. There will be the new Tailosive Talks podcast, episode 38. That's coming out in less than an hour. So you can enjoy an entire 4K edited Tailosive Talks podcast. And of course, there's lots of tech videos headed your way. So thank you for all your questions and super chats. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great day.